The way these came, this was no fold-out deal or anything. This were a close on the other side. It's basically got 007 Special Edition DVD, and you got the gun barrel there, James Bond collection, and these are actually really nice. Yeah, and here you got Connery, his famous gun from Russia with Love. It's the same on both sides, and then the top you got that again, and then the bottom you got the MGM logo. And then on the side it didn't close in, you just got all the DVDs right there. You got Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Diamonds Are Forever. And they're all in this nice matching style. So let's take them out and go one by one. Starting with the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No. There you go, Connery and Ursula Andress on the cover. Here you saw the side. There's the back. Oh, that was a nice uniform deal. And these were the, at the time, the best these movies had ever been presented. So, each disc looks like the gun barrel, has that style on it. My disc tray for Dr. No is broken, as you can see. And then you've got the booklets. They each come with these nice special edition booklets. And they each have, and each of the booklets have a different poster than the front cover. All in these nice color photos. And they've got all of this cast information is the first thing listed. And then they've got these nice big essays along with lots of other photos and information. And I could go in depth talking about each and every film, but that would definitely take too much time, so I will just give you brief opinions on the films. I'm not going to give you a whole list or go in depth as to what I like and don't like about each film. If there was only like, I don't know, 2 of them, I could do that, but I'm just going to give you my quick assessments. Dr. No, very first James Bond movie. I like it. One thing you learn quickly about me is I'm a die-hard Bond fan. I only dislike 2 James Bond movies. And you'll find out what those 2 are as we go along. There's only 2 that I don't like. Other than that, I enjoy them all, and it's simply a question of how much I like one over another. And what I say to people, anyway, as I was saying, the purpose of a James Bond movie is to be an exciting, action-packed adventure filled with guns, girls, and martinis that take us to new and beautiful locations all over the world that we've never been before, with fun, cliched bad guys who have convoluted world domination plots. If you look for something more than that in a 007 movie, then I'm sorry, you're just not a true die-hard Bond fan. Bam. So that's the way I see it. And I can probably find exceptions to that statement. I know I said that with a lot of backing behind it, but as for the 2 I don't like, they're 2 of the most in that way, that description. But I'll give you my reasons for why I don't like those 2. But yeah, that's the way I see it, for the most part. I do draw a line somewhere, yes. And you'll find out what that line is. Next, From Russia with Love. Regarded by many as the best James Bond movie. I enjoy it. It's a good Bond movie. It's very much in the style, I think, of how Ian Fleming would have wanted all of them to be. You know, there's nothing outrageous about it, nothing unplausible. I figure it was very much like the novels would have been. Disc again with that uniform. And flip through the booklets quickly. And although I did, I'm not going to take my time announcing them, I'll just talk as I'm going through them. And although I did, I do think that what I said about, being fun, cliched movies and stuff, I do tend to enjoy the more realistic Bond movies the most. And like I said, I enjoy them all pretty much. But the more gritty, the more down to earth, the more I enjoy it usually. And here we are looking at Goldfinger, the third Bond film. And this is actually my all-time favorite Bond film. I think it's the ideal one. It gives you everything you want in a Bond movie. And also, straight away from the Spectre plot points, the first two movies focused on Spectre, the organization. And then this movie went with a plot that was totally not connected in any way to the previous two films. It just gave its own new story. But then, of course, in the fourth movie, Thunderball, they went right back into the Spectre plot line and stayed with it for a good number of films until the situation was resolved. There's Goldfinger. Thunderball. This is a Bond movie I find to be overrated. I like it, but it's far too long. If it was a more interesting movie with a more complex plot, the length wouldn't be a problem. But it's got a fairly simple and easy to follow plot. So really there's not a lot you can do with it. I mean, the dialogue was not the best in this movie. I mean, it was a good premise, very beautiful locations, some good sequences. But I think some of the writing was poor in this movie. If you go back, and look at it again, and you'll notice. And it has quite a few periods of time where it just drags, and it seems, slow and repetitive, and it's far too long. It's the longest Connery movie, by quite a bit. Next, we go to what, at the time, everyone thought was Connery's last movie, You Only Live Twice. And this is another one again I immensely enjoy, but I think is overrated. Because, for some reason or another, it seems like they cheaped out on this movie. I mean, except for the whole ending fortress in the volcano, they spent a lot of money on that, and maybe that's why they had to go cheaper for the rest of the movie, but it seems like everything except that big fortress, they sort of cut down on their budget, and it was, they didn't spend a lot of money on it. And it's another one I think that has slow points, but that can be said about any Bond movie, I guess. Problem is, Connery aged quickly. He started looking old when he was in his 40s. His hair started whiting and graying, and it really wasn't fair to him. Alright, here's something I hate. Just like with that Ghostbusters 2 booklet where they, photoshopped. I can't believe they did this. This is so lazy. Okay. Here we have this nice print of Connery with two of the Bond girls from the movie. This is not a picture of Sean Connery from 1967 in You Only Live Twice. This is a photo of him from 1983 when he did the unofficial stinker Bond movie, Through My Eyes, Never Say Never Again, which was just a silly remake of Thunderball that wasn't necessary at all. And for some reason or another, they decided to take that photo and crop it in here. Why would they do that? It's so stupid. It always bugs me. I have OCD, so things like that, like photos that are messed up, really bug me. I mean, just look in comparison, side by side. That's him in the movie. That's the one they have in the booklet. I mean, it's like, whoa, fast forward a couple decades. Next, we come to the film that proved there really was no life after Connery. Next, the studios realized their mistakes and went back to Connery. Yeah, they brought him back for one more. And he is looking older if you compare it to You Only Live Twice. It's a couple of years later, we're out of the 60s now, Bond making the journey into the 70s to see if he can still survive in that decade, and oh, he did. So here's Diamonds Are Forever, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the first James Bond movie I ever saw. And I think that's probably the main reason that I hold it so close to my heart and sentimentally, and why it's one of my favorites. Not necessarily because I legitimately think it's a very good Bond movie, but because it has a sense of nostalgia for me, because it was the first I saw. And there's only 2 times, I should mention, fun fact, 2 times in James Bond history where 2 different Bond movies have connected with their plot lines, and the end of one has gone right into the beginning of another. And this was the first time. The end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service and the beginning of Diamonds Are Forever connect. You know, like I said with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, you know, most people can blame Lazenby entirely for it, but like I said, even with Connery, that would have been a bad movie, because there were just so many other contributing factors to what made that movie not a good one. And it was not just Lazenby, although he is not a good Bond by any means. So there you go. James Bond 007 Collection, Part 1, The Connery Years. And I should mention, the movies that originally came in this outer shell of a box were, let's see what came in here. From Russia with Love, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever. What else came in here? For Your Eyes Only. Let's see, there's 7 in this one, so Russia with Love, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever, For Your Eyes Only, Moonraker, The World Is Not Enough, and The Living Daylights. Those 7 originally came in this box. And then I categorize this as the first 7 chronologically. So, tune in next week for Part 2 of our Bond extravaganza.